My name is Caroline Whitmore. I'm 23 years old, and for most of my life, I believed that being quiet was a virtue. I was the peacemaker, the one who apologized first, even when I hadn't done anything wrong, the one who stepped back so others could shine. I thought that made me mature, adaptable, easy to love. What I didn't understand back then was that it also made me easy to use. I grew up in a house where love wasn't evenly distributed. It had a favorite. Her name was Vanessa, my older sister, 6 years ahead of me in age and light years ahead in importance. She's 29 now, but in my parents' eyes, she's always been the center of the universe. Everything revolved around Vanessa. If Vanessa was upset, the whole household shifted. If Vanessa needed help, it became an emergency. If Vanessa failed, excuses appeared like magic. My parents, Robert and Linda Whitmore, both in their early 50s, never said outright that they loved her more. They didn't need to. Their actions said it every single day. Vanessa got married at 23 to a man named Derek. From the beginning, something about him unsettled me. He talked big plans, big dreams, but none of them ever materialized. He bounced between construction jobs whenever he felt like working. Nothing steady, nothing long-term. Vanessa didn't work at all. Whenever anyone suggested she should, she'd smile and say, "I have to focus on the kids." She had two, Sophia, 6, and Oliver, 4. And yes, being a mother is work. But in our house, motherhood somehow excused everything. Bills, responsibility, effort. They all became optional once you had children. So how did Vanessa and Derek survive? Simple. They lived off my grandfather. My grandfather's name is William Whitmore. He's 76, widowed for over a decade, and one of the toughest men I've ever known. Before retiring, he built a successful chain of hardware stores across Pennsylvania from nothing. No shortcuts, no excuses. He believes in work, accountability, integrity, and for reasons I never fully understood, he always saw something in me. Not because I asked for it, not because I demanded it, but because, as he once told me, "You've got common sense and a humble heart." I worked full-time as an office coordinator at a small logistics company, earning about $2,000 a month. It wasn't much, but it was honest. It paid my bills. Sometimes, when I could, I helped my parents with rent. I even slipped Vanessa grocery money when the kids needed something. Meanwhile, my parents begged my grandfather for more. Vanessa's raising 2 children. Derek's looking for work. It's hard out there. Every excuse imaginable. My grandfather sent them $2,800 every single month, more than I made working 40 hours a week. And still, it was never enough. There was always an emergency, always a crisis, always something urgent the kids needed. 3 months ago, I turned 23. I didn't expect anything special. In my family, birthdays were only a big deal if your name was Vanessa. But that morning, my phone rang. "Caroline, sweetheart," my grandfather said, his voice buzzing with excitement. "I'm driving up today. I've got a surprise for you." He arrived that afternoon in his silver Buick, pulling up to the cramped 2-bedroom apartment where 7 people somehow lived. 7. My parents, Vanessa, Derek, Sophia, Oliver, and me. Chaos didn't even begin to describe it. My grandfather walked in holding a large manila envelope, his face glowing. "Happy birthday, Caroline," he said, pulling me into a hug so tight it almost knocked the breath out of me. "Everyone, sit down." We crowded into the living room. Vanessa sat on the couch, arms crossed, already annoyed. My parents exchanged tight glances. Derek leaned against the wall, barely paying attention. My grandfather handed me the envelope. "Open it." My hands shook as I tore it open. Inside were keys and a thick stack of legal documents. "It's a house," my grandfather said softly. 3 bedrooms, Maplewood neighborhood, fully furnished. It's in your name. I froze. "Grandpa, I can't." "Yes, you can," he interrupted firmly. "You deserve this. You work hard. You never ask. You never complain. This is mine to give, and I'm proud of you." Tears streamed down my face as I hugged him. Around us, silence thickened. My parents looked uncomfortable. Vanessa's face twisted, envy sharp and unmistakable. Derek scowled. But for once, I didn't care. The next day, my grandfather took me to see the house. It was perfect. Sunlight through wide windows, hardwood floors, a backyard I could actually breathe in. "It's yours," he said, hugging me goodbye. I floated all the way back home until I walked through the apartment door. My mother was waiting, arms crossed, expression hard. "Caroline," she said, "we need to talk." And just like that, the dream began to crack. I should have known better than to think the house would stay mine. The moment my mother said, "We need to talk," something cold slid down my spine. My smile faded as I sat across from her. My father lowered himself into the armchair beside her, already avoiding my eyes. Vanessa and Derek lingered near the kitchen doorway, pretending not to listen while listening to every word. "It's about the house," my father began, rubbing his palms together the way he did when he was about to say something he knew I wouldn't like. My heart sank. "Okay, what about it?" My mother sighed, slow and deliberate. "We've been thinking. That house is very big for one person." I frowned. "Big? How?" "You're young," she continued. "You're single. You don't need 3 bedrooms." The word single landed like an accusation. "Well," I said carefully, "maybe not right now, but it's for my future." Before she could respond, Vanessa stepped forward, arms folded tight across her chest. "My kids are growing up in this dump," she snapped. "Sophia and Oliver don't even have their own rooms." "This apartment is cramped," my father added quickly. "It's not fair to the children." "Not fair." "But Grandpa gave the house to me," I said, panic creeping into my voice. "It's in my name." "We're family," my mother said firmly. "Family shares." I felt my chest tighten. "I already help. I give money when I can." "This is different," my father interrupted. "This is about giving your niece and nephew a real home." Vanessa's eyes glistened instantly, tears ready on command. "Don't my kids matter to you?" she whispered. I hated conflict. Always had. The tension wrapped around my ribs, squeezing. That night, I barely slept. And the next morning, it started again. Over coffee, my mother sighed dramatically. "Think of the children, Caroline." At dinner, my father muttered, "Selfishness doesn't look good on you." Late at night, Vanessa knocked on my bedroom door, mascara streaked down her cheeks. I never thought my own sister would turn her back on us. It was relentless. Day after day, comment after comment, guilt layered on guilt. Every time I tried to stand my ground, they reframed it. I wasn't protecting myself. I was abandoning children. I wasn't accepting a gift. I was stealing from my sister. I wasn't setting boundaries. I was being cruel. 3 weeks passed like that. 3 weeks of pressure. 3 weeks of sleepless nights. 3 weeks of being told over and over that I didn't deserve what was mine. Until one night, I broke. We were all in the living room. The kids were asleep. The air felt thick, heavy with expectation. "Fine," I whispered, my voice barely audible. "Vanessa can have the house." The room exploded. Vanessa let out a squeal and rushed forward, hugging me like she'd just won a prize. My parents smiled with visible relief. "You're such a good sister," my mother said, patting my arm. Derek actually smiled at me. I felt hollow. Within days, they moved. Vanessa, Derek, the kids, my parents, all into my house. "You can stay here," my mother said casually, gesturing around the apartment. "The rent's already paid." The first night alone in that apartment felt wrong. Too quiet. Too empty. But at least I had a roof. 2 days later, I came home from work and my key didn't work. I tried again. Nothing. I knocked. No answer. I called my mother. Straight to voicemail. My father didn't pick up. Vanessa's number didn't even ring. I'd been blocked. A neighbor glanced at me sympathetically. "Landlord was here this morning," she said. "They ended the lease." My stomach dropped. I called him immediately. "Yeah," he said casually. They said they didn't need the place anymore. Already rented it out. I stood on the sidewalk, my work bag cutting into my shoulder, staring at the only home I'd ever known. I had nowhere to go. No hotel money, no deposit saved, no backup plan, just my car. A 15-year-old Honda Civic that somehow still ran. That first night, I parked in front of the house, my house. I reclined the seat as far as it would go, wrapped my jacket around myself, and tried not to cry too loudly. The lights inside glowed warm. Laughter drifted through the walls. The next morning, I washed my face in a gas station bathroom before work. No one noticed. Or maybe they did and didn't ask. Night after night, I returned to that same spot, watching shadows move behind windows that should have been mine, eating dollar menu meals, sleeping in fragments. Weeks turned into months. 5 months. 5 months of cold nights and aching joints. 5 months of humiliation. 5 months of pretending I was fine. Until one Saturday morning at dawn, there was a sharp tap on my window. I jolted awake. My grandfather stood there, staring at me in horror. For a split second, I thought I was dreaming. My windows were fogged from my breath, the early morning air biting through the thin fabric of my jacket. I wiped the glass with my sleeve, and my heart nearly stopped. My grandfather was standing there. His silver hair was uncombed, his jacket still buttoned wrong, like he'd dressed in a hurry. His eyes moved from my face to the back seat, taking in the folded blankets, the pillow I'd stolen from the apartment months ago, the grocery bags stuffed with clothes. "Caroline," his voice cracked, "what are you doing in here?" I opened the car door and stumbled out, suddenly aware of everything. My wrinkled clothes, my unwashed hair, the stiffness in my back from sleeping curled up for hours. My throat closed. No sound came out. His gaze lifted slowly to the house behind me. The house he gave me. "And the house?" he asked quietly. "Didn't you like it?" Tears spilled before I could stop them. Before I could answer, the front door swung open. "Oh, Dad!" my mother exclaimed, her voice forced bright. "What a surprise! We didn't know you were coming." My grandfather didn't even look at her. His eyes stayed locked on me. "What happened to the house?" he demanded, louder now. My mother hesitated, then sighed dramatically. "Well, we took it from her and gave it to Vanessa. She has a family. She deserves it more." The words landed like gunshots. "She's young," my mother continued quickly, "single. She doesn't need that much space." My grandfather's face went still. Too still. "What did you just say?" Vanessa appeared behind her, arms crossed defensively. Derek hovered near the doorframe, already nervous. My mother rushed on, emboldened. "Vanessa has children. Caroline hasn't even started a family yet. It just made sense." Silence fell, heavy and suffocating. Then my grandfather reached into his pocket and pulled out his phone. "What are you doing?" my mother asked, suddenly panicked. "I'm calling the police," he said calmly. "There's an illegal occupation of property registered in my granddaughter's name." "You can't do that," she shrieked. "The children live here." "Children shouldn't live in stolen houses," he roared. Chaos erupted. Vanessa screamed. Derek stammered excuses. My father begged him to calm down. Police cars arrived within minutes. Deeds were reviewed, names confirmed. "This property belongs to Caroline Whitmore," the officer said firmly. "You have 1 hour to vacate." Vanessa collapsed onto the porch, sobbing. My parents pleaded. Derek cursed under his breath. My grandfather stood beside me, his arms solid around my shoulders. Exactly 1 hour later, they stood on the sidewalk, surrounded by suitcases. "And the money?" my mother asked desperately. "The support?" "Done," my grandfather said coldly. "All of it." We walked inside together. My house. That night, I slept in a real bed. The first night I slept in a real bed again, my body didn't know how to relax. I lay there, staring at the ceiling, the mattress soft beneath me, sheets clean and warm, my muscles still braced like I was waiting for someone to knock on the window and tell me to move along. For 5 months, my nervous system had learned a different reality, one where comfort was temporary, one where safety could be taken away without warning. When I finally drifted off, I dreamed of my car. I woke up the next morning in silence. Not the heavy, hostile silence of my parents' apartment, but a quiet that felt neutral, honest. Sunlight streamed through the curtains, landing on the hardwood floor in gentle rectangles. For the first time in months, I didn't wake up with my spine twisted or my neck screaming in pain. I stood under the shower longer than necessary, letting the hot water run until my fingers wrinkled. 5 months of washing my hair in gas station sinks came rushing back. How I'd learned to tilt my head just right so the faucet wouldn't spray everywhere. How I'd carry my toiletries in a plastic bag and pretend I was just stopping in before work like everyone else. I dressed slowly, ate toast at the kitchen counter. Every movement felt unreal, like I might be jolted awake at any second. The house smelled like fresh coffee and wood polish. Mine. In the days that followed, my grandfather stayed nearby, checking in constantly. He didn't hover, but I could feel his presence like an anchor. He helped me rekey the locks, installed security cameras, changed the alarm codes. I should have done this from the start, he muttered once, shaking his head. I trusted them. That was my mistake. I didn't argue. I was done defending them. The messages started almost immediately. Missed calls, voicemails, emails sent from addresses I didn't recognize. Caroline, please call me. The kids are confused. We made a mistake, but you're tearing this family apart. I didn't respond. 3 weeks after the eviction, my mother sent a long message, paragraphs of desperation disguised as apology. We raised you better than this. Blood is blood. You can't just abandon us. I stared at the screen for a long time before typing my reply. No. Just that. One word. Then I blocked her. I blocked all of them. It felt brutal, final, necessary. Work changed too. Without sleeping in my car, without spending hours just surviving, I had energy again. I started arriving early, speaking up in meetings, finishing tasks instead of barely holding myself together through them. My manager noticed. You seem different, she said one afternoon. More focused. I almost laughed. At night, I wandered through the house, slowly reclaiming it room by room. The third bedroom became a home office. I painted the walls a soft gray blue, hung artwork I actually liked instead of whatever was cheap or available. I filled the space with plants, books, light. Friends came over. Real friends. The ones who hadn't known what was happening but showed up without judgment when I finally told them. We cooked dinners together, laughed, played board games at the dining table. Sometimes in the quiet moments, guilt would try to sneak in. I'd think of Sophia and Oliver, their small shoes by the door, the toys still tucked away in the garage. Then I'd remember the nights I slept curled in my back seat, watching that same house glow warm while my breath fogged the windows. The guilt never stayed long. About 2 months in, word started trickling back to me through mutual acquaintances. Vanessa was working as a cashier at a grocery store. Derek had picked up full-time construction work. They'd moved into a cramped 2-bedroom apartment in a rough part of town, the kind of place they used to sneer at. My parents had downsized too, 1 bedroom, both working part-time jobs. For the first time in my life, the scales felt balanced. One evening, my grandfather called me, his voice serious. Your mother came by today. My stomach tightened. What did she want? She asked me to forgive them, to help financially again. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. And I told her the truth, he said, that you haven't changed. You're still kind. You've just finally learned that kindness doesn't mean letting people destroy you. My eyes burned. Thank you, I whispered. 6 months after the morning he found me in my car, my life looked unrecognizable. I hosted dinner parties, got promoted at work, slept through the night without fear. One afternoon, I ran into Vanessa at the grocery store. She stood behind the register, eyes tired, shoulders slumped. When she saw me, something flickered across her face. Shock, then resentment, then something like regret. For a moment, I thought about walking over, asking how she was doing. Then I remembered. The locks changed. The lease canceled. The car. I turned down another aisle. I wasn't cold. I wasn't cruel. I was done. My grandfather visits every other weekend now. We cook together, watch old movies, talk about his life, my grandmother, the mistakes people make when they confuse love with obligation. One evening, sitting on the back patio as the sun dipped low, he said, "You know what I'm most proud of?" "What?" I asked. "That you didn't become bitter," he said. "You just became free." He was right. I lock my front door every night and feel something settle in my chest. This house isn't just walls and rooms. It's proof that I mattered all along, that freedom can be quiet, and that I will never sleep in my car again. The funny thing about freedom is that it doesn't arrive with fireworks. It comes softly. It settles into your bones when you least expect it. While you're folding laundry in your own home, or unlocking a door that no one else has the right to take from you. By the time 7 months had passed since my grandfather found me sleeping in my car, my life no longer revolved around survival. It revolved around choice. I chose what time I woke up. I chose what I ate. I chose who had access to me. And for the first time, that included my family. Or rather, excluded them. They didn't stop trying. Blocked numbers became new email addresses. Emails became handwritten letters sent to my grandfather's house. Guilt dressed itself up as concern. The kids miss you. Your sister is struggling. This punishment has gone on long enough. Punishment. As if protecting myself had been some calculated revenge. One evening, after a long day at work, I sat at my kitchen table rereading one of those messages. My mother's handwriting slanted sharply, each word pressed too hard into the paper. "We are still your parents. You don't get to erase us." I folded the letter carefully, walked to the trash, and dropped it in. I wasn't erasing them. I was choosing myself. A week later, my grandfather came over for dinner. We cooked together, pasta from scratch, his hands steady and practiced, mine finally relaxed. After we ate, we sat on the couch, the house quiet except for the hum of the refrigerator. "They're not doing well," he said gently. I nodded. "I know." "Do you feel bad?" I thought about it, about Sophia's laugh, Oliver's sticky fingers, about my sister's tears and my parents' disappointment. Then I thought about 5 months in that car, the cold, the shame, the way none of them checked if I was alive. "No," I said honestly. "I feel resolved." He smiled at that. "Good," he said. "That's healthier than guilt." Not long after, I got promoted again, this time to operations supervisor. My salary nearly doubled. I replaced my old Honda Civic with a reliable sedan and donated the blankets I'd once slept under. I kept one thing, the jacket I'd used as a pillow, not out of sentimentality, but as a reminder. One Saturday afternoon, while picking up groceries, I saw Vanessa again. She was restocking shelves this time, her hair pulled back tight, her face drawn and tired. She noticed me too. Our eyes met, and something in her expression shifted. She opened her mouth. I waited. But instead of calling my name, she looked away. For the first time, I realized something startling. She didn't miss me. She missed what I provided. I paid and left without another glance. That night, my grandfather and I sat on the back patio, watching the sky fade into deep blue. "You know," he said, "people think strength is loud, confrontational, aggressive." I leaned back in my chair. "But it isn't." "No," he agreed. "Strength is quiet. It's the decision not to go back to places that broke you." I looked at the house behind us, the 3 bedrooms, the warm kitchen, the space that once felt undeserved and now felt earned. "I used to think being kind meant saying yes," I said softly. "And now?" he asked. "Now I know it means knowing when to say no." He reached over and squeezed my hand. 6 months ago, I thought losing my family meant losing everything. But standing there, with the door locked behind me and the future wide open ahead, I finally understood the truth. I didn't lose my family. I lost my chains. And in their place, I found something far more valuable. Freedom.